Hello and good morning. It was such a long night, but thank you for joining us in Big Talk College Sports with a Midwest perspective, blue collar and blue blood. I am Sam Sprunger, your host, one of your hosts, and Tony. What a game to be able to jump into a Friday morning to talk about. Notre Dame, the 7-seed Notre Dame Fighting Irish, take down the number 6-seeded Penn State Nittany Lions 27-24 in a game, Tony, that started the fourth quarter tied at 10.
Yep. And I will say, pat on the back to both of us because we both said that this was going to be a close game. We figured it would be within 3 to 4 points. I know mine, I think, was 28-24, so I was off by 1 point. I think you said, what, 24-21 potentially?
That's what I was thinking.
So we were both pretty close. We just about right on the money. And hats off to both of us because now we both have a loss in our playoff streak there. And guess what? Mine came because I doubted Notre Dame against Georgia. Yours came because you doubted Notre Dame against Penn State.
No, well, and it wasn't even that I had doubt in them. It's just I had more confidence in what Penn State had been doing. And you know what? They played well enough to win. That's the crazy thing about this game is it was just which defense. I loved the fact that it was defense all the way through the first three quarters.
Until the end.
And then in the fourth quarter, for all but about 3 minutes of or about 4 minutes of it, was just up and down the field, scoring points left and right. And all of a sudden, we're tied at 24 with 3.5 minutes left.
Yeah.
And that's where it got interesting. A lot of people might be questioning the fact that Penn State was taking pretty risky chances at the end there. What are your thoughts on that? Because he threw an interception shortly after they had gotten the ball back.
Yeah, Notre Dame struggled.
Notre Dame to punt. And you thought, maybe this is the chance for Penn State
to drive down and kick the field goal.
The second play, and I tell you what, Ty Warren is a beast. He just absolutely is. But they got downfield, and Aller goes elsewhere, takes a risk. It's not even close. It's an interception, and that was what a lot of people I was seeing were asking. Why in the world would you take that chance, Tony? I don't know why you wouldn't.
I say that's no different than what any other Big King quarterback is going to do, and I'll say this too because you can say it for college, you can say it for professional. You're only ever going to get crucified. You're only ever going to get really dogged on if you fail. Because if you win, you're a genius. Oh my goodness, look at the play. Effort. What a gutsy effort. Look at the play. Look at what a cerebral quarterback, he's a guy that stands in the pocket. He knows where he's delivering the football. He puts it only where he can get it. All of it if it succeeds. If it fails, oh my God, what a boneheaded play. But I mean that is the epitome of football. Like that's what we love about the game because like you said, it was a defensive effort. It honestly could have tipped either way. And really throughout the entire game, even there all the way to the very end, it could have tipped either way. Even after Notre Dame kicked what come to be the game-winning field goal.
Did you see how that started, that kick?
Oh, I thought he was going to miss it.
To the right and then pulled back and went into the middle. And not sorry to cut you off, but what I wanted to ask really quick was mention really quick. You mentioned how Aller made a boneheaded mistake and tried to force a pass in when Riley Leonard had done it just a couple of drives before, trying to throw over a defensive end that had dropped into coverage. And so like it easily could have been the play.
Yeah.
That
cost Notre Dame the game. It could be the other way around.
How different would the game be if Singleton would have caught the third down pass in the end zone and he drops it wide open, drops it.
Right.
Penn State has to settle for a field goal. Does that change the dynamic to where all of a sudden Penn State's up 14-0? Oh yeah, 10-0, and the fact that they held them to a field goal before the half, that matters then.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it kept the momentum in Notre Dame's direction because they were able to cut it to one score.
Right. And credit to Steve Angeli, the backup quarterback for Notre Dame. I mean, I know that's kind of weird to say, but when Riley Leonard went out, Steve Angeli comes in, he goes 6 of 7 for 44 yards. I mean, no, you didn't throw a touchdown, but that's about as good as you can ask for as far as backup quarterback coming to fill in last second.
They got a field goal and made the game one score.
Yeah.
Singleton catches that in the first quarter. We're looking at 14-3 at the half instead of 10-3 at the half. It's still a 2-possession game. There's still that, okay, Penn State's offense didn't play horribly at all.
Yeah.
When they needed to. Yeah. They were pretty productive, but it was a defensive struggle. I love that you get all that scoring in the fourth quarter, and then it ends on who can make the best defensive play at the end. And it was, to me, as I'm sitting there listening to the Notre Dame fight song being played after Jeter hits the 41-yard field goal, is I immediately go back to, this is exactly how I felt watching Joe Paterno and Lou Holtz many a times, because for, like the battling it out, just it'd be 27-24 and you just sat there and thought, wow, I just watched two teams just absolutely beat each other up. Just absolute. And I think we got an absolute late 1980s, early 1990s Notre Dame Penn State game. And if you, no matter what side you're on, if you watch that and witnessed it and have some sort of high emotion from how it came, that's how it was back in the 80s and 90s with Penn State and Notre Dame. It's absolutely takes me back to that point in my life, and I'm so happy that this game lived up to the bill, even though I got it wrong.
Right. Well, and I even had a buddy message me. He's like, finally a good game in the college football playoffs, because all of it, with the exception of obviously Texas versus Arizona State, but again, had they not gotten cocky, who would have also potentially been a blowout.
It shouldn't have been an 8-point game. It shouldn't have been an overtime.
Right. So yeah, this was a fantastic game. Like you said, it was definitely a defensive struggle, because looking at this, like I've said before, and like I said the last few episodes, I'm still not completely sold on Drew Aller. There's people that even make the argument that next year in the draft, he may be the number one guy. But I know it's not Big Ten related. Did you see the news that Carson Beck has entered the transfer portal, but apparently has a do not contact clause, which is weird.
Because he wants to contact them.
We made the joke in one of the group chats that he's probably going to go to Arkansas or Vanderbilt or somewhere like that to make him a contender. Just because why not? That'd be funny. But or no, I think I saw for sure the 3 teams that might be interested are Ohio State, Texas Tech, and there's one other one that was kind of weird too. I was like, why? But anyway, nonetheless, though, this was an overall fantastic game, and it came down to like what you and I said. Whose defense is going to be able to stifle the other offense more. And it's funny because Notre Dame had a better day passing than Notre Dame did, even though Riley Leonard to both of us is slightly above a game manager. But believe it or not, Penn State had a better rushing day than Notre Dame did, with both Singleton running for 84 yards. He had all three of Penn State's touchdowns, and then Katron Allen 82 yards for no touchdowns on top of it. And then of course you had Tyler Warren being Tyler Warren with 21 rushing yards of his own and 68 receiving yards. So this overall was everything that you could ask for out of a Penn State versus Notre Dame game.
Yeah. The Orange Bowl so far is taking the number one bowl so far to this bowl season. And the third team, Tony, as you just saw in the chat, is Miami.
That's right. Because I saw a picture of Carson Beck's cheerleader in her cheerleading outfit, and it said that's the reason why Carson Beck wants to go to Miami. That makes a lot of sense now. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, Yeah. Well,
Sid,
but
Sid the Slot is going to cheer for the cheerleaders.
so I know that we don't know the opponent yet because tonight is the scheduled Cotton Bowl between the 5th seeded Texas Longhorns and the 8th seeded Ohio State Buckeyes. We will have reaction for that on Monday's show, but if you let's have the ability to, as the Irish, evaluate which team you'd rather play. Yes, you don't care because you're in the national championship. No. Okay, we're actually going to say, okay, make a choice. Who
Right.
would you prefer? Who do you think Marcus Freeman and the Irish think or wish and hope they play? Is it Texas or is it Ohio State?
Honestly, I feel like you can make an argument for both. And I say that because I think from a who's the less hot team to have to face, Texas, because Ohio State's on a roll right now. However, I think Marcus Freeman would also like to get a little bit of revenge for against Ohio State because he's 0-2 as a head coach since he had to play in both years that he's been the head coach there at Notre Dame up until this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time they faced, it ended because Notre Dame only had 10 defensive players on the field and couldn't stop Kyle McCord and the Ohio State offense from being able to score and ultimately win the game.
Trevion Henderson that ran the ball in, I believe.
More than likely. So if it's me, I could see an argument for both. I would almost argue Texas more.
Fair enough. Well, I will respond here after the break, Tony. So we're going to step away for the audio podcast to be able to pay the bills, so to speak, there, Tony. And we'll be back after. All right. Glad to be back from our break, Tony. And we're talking about who we think Notre Dame really wants to play. I think they don't want any bit of Ohio State.
No.
I think Ohio State put everybody on notice.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? After tonight, if I'm wrong, after tonight, send me just rail it. I don't think I'm going to be wrong. I think Ohio State wins this by double digits. I don't think it's even. I just think Ohio State is running and thumping on every cylinder possible, and they're going to go to Atlanta with 3 just dominating victories over really, really, really good football teams.
I say at least 2 of them would be, two of the top 4 teams in the country.
Right.
At least that's what it was,
right.
projected as at the beginning of the season.
On the way to come play Notre Dame. So I don't think Notre Dame and he shouldn't ever, but Marcus Freeman will never admit that.
Right.
He would never say we don't want anything to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the deep, like sitting in his office at home with lights off, just the glow of his laptop because it's Brutus the Buckeye just standing there staring at him going, "Arr!" And he's just like, I don't want anything to do with that right now. They are playing so, and that's not to take anything and say Texas is going to be a pushover. I just don't think. I don't think they want to touch what Ohio State's doing right now, although they will go and prep for that revenge.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, I think and it's funny too, because keep in mind, Marcus Freeman played his entire collegiate career at Ohio State. So, he's got be a little bit torn. And,
Sure.
For him too, he's got to have a little bit of that, if I have to face anybody, kind of want to face Ohio State. He's from Fairborn, Ohio, so he's not that far away from Columbus. Played for Ohio State, technically coached at Ohio State as a graduate assistant. Just a couple years after he finished his playing career. So it's like he's right there.
Are you trying to sway my vote?
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say
that would
I still think he's like I don't want anything to do with them right
Pretty
now.
sure that would. I'm pretty sure that would be election interference, and I can't do that. That'd be wrong. That's illegal, sir.
Well, but that's I mean, this game really it truly was a the best we could have hoped for.
Yeah.
Not which team wins. It's my goodness gracious, we've been sitting here trying to figure out how it is we can make this tournament better.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, we're able to not worry about that part right now. We're watching really good football. Granted, the lower seed again wins. That's 5 in a row for the lower seed.
Right.
But that bodes well for my pick for tonight is Ohio State if we go 6 straight. But the point being is we finally got something to worry about. Not to worry about. How do we make this better? Because it's been nothing but blowouts, nothing but blowouts, nothing but blowouts.
Right.
We got a game that I would be proud to have said, yeah, I was at the Orange Bowl 2025.
So here's another question for you, and you probably knew it was already coming because we've talked about it, and we're always going to probably flip on it. Do you think because if they potentially run the gauntlet the entire way, this re-solidifies Notre Dame's stance of we don't need a conference. We don't need to join one because we came in as this seed. We won every game that we needed to win on the road. And if they, however means, whoever they face in the national championship and they win, Notre Dame doesn't come out and say, we don't need you. We don't need the Big Ten. We don't need the ACC. We don't need nobody. We don't need nothing.
Money's always greener on the other side of the fence.
I agree. But
here's the thing, that might up the ante on what the Big Ten would offer them. Then
I think so.
But here's the thing: it's been 37 years, right? Yeah, 37 years since
88.
Since Notre Dame won their last national championship. They've been milking that for 37 years, Tony. How long do you think they're going to let milk this one out for? Oh, yeah. I'm not going to be walking upright on this earth and by the time they let that one go. But no, I think there's still going to be the push. At some point, I did see Notre Dame's schedule for next year. It's much stronger than what a lot of people have said. You know, people say, "Well, Notre Dame doesn't play anybody." They play a lot of somebodies this year or this next year. So I mean, they've got the other end of the A&M home and home.
Mm-hmm.
They have Purdue.
That's your tough schedule.
Purdue's going to be better. No, they there are others on there. I can't. I know you're pulling it up, so that's why I'm trying to drag it out a little bit.
Yeah, I have it right here. So they start out the season. They go to Miami. Right. Ironic enough, they're at least one of their first wins here in the new year is at Hard Rock Stadium to face the Hurricanes. Then they host Texas A&M. They host Purdue. Mm-hmm. They have to go to Arkansas.
Which is an easy game.
No. They host Boise State. They host USC. They host Navy. They travel to Pitt. Then they travel to Boston College. They host NC State. And then they finish the year hosting the Syracuse Orange.
So it gets a little easier towards the end of the schedule, but they have a murderer's row to start the season.
Yeah,
minus Purdue, and you know what? Purdue's going to be markedly better than what they were last year. I have pretty good confidence in Barry Odom there in West Lafayette, so I think that they're going to be better. But that's a tough. If they can keep scheduling like that, Tony, then there's no need.
Yeah,
I just think that with the big. And I've said this since day one, since we've started this mad expansion. I feel that eventually, as these conferences keep getting bigger, they're going to require more and more conference games. And that's going to make your strength of schedule so valid. Like, it's going to be like we played 11 conference games.
Yeah.
And we got our one little cuppy cake against, Tennessee Southwest Eastern State.
Right.
Technical
Well, and
school.
yeah. Well, and plus too, by the time these, as these super conferences expand and, grow, we've already talked about the ACC is probably going to be the next one to fall, to be 100% honest with you. I think the Big 12 is established well
it's
enough.
It's going to be on the last Power 5 to go.
Yeah, they'll probably be the last ones. Or like I said, they might be the conference that if you don't make it into the Big 10 or the SEC, everybody else just joins the Big 12, and that's the Power 3, essentially.
Maybe. But still, that's going to be 20-plus teams.
It's going to be 20-plus teams probably in the super conferences, too.
No,
like the Big Ten's already at 18.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be 20-plus teams in these conferences. So why would you be comfortable calling your conference champion somebody that played less than 50% of either didn't play its division or didn't win or play 50% of the conference?
Hey, look, if I have to face,
you could have two in the final, the Big Ten championship, Tony.
Hey, look, I'm just saying
they never played a common opponent.
I'm just saying, if I face Northwestern 8 times and I win, I played 8 conference games and I won the conference.
Well, you're not playing the same team.
You don't know. It's Notre Dame. They could request anything. They want to face Northwestern all day, every day.
We won't leave the state of Illinois on our
they'll make them all home games for Notre Dame. They don't want to travel on the road.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to. They got away from the divisions, the Big Ten.
Yeah,
I think it was silly. They needed to realign it. Is what they needed to do. Call it the North-South. Call it something. Don't make it East-West, because then you're bound by geography necessary. You can do a North-East. I don't know. There is a way. There has to be a way.
I don't.
To more shore up and make it still geographically viable, I guess, for all these teams to play one another. Because if not, you're going to be playing, 9 conference games right now against 9. But as the conference grows, if you still only play 9 conference games, you're going to be stuck playing less than 50% of your conference.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
As they expand.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that necessarily getting rid of the divisions was a bad thing, though, because then again, what have we seen prior to the expansion? What did we see almost every single year? It was Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State are the top 3, and they're all just in the Eastern Division. And okay, who from the West gets to get the crap kicked out of them in the Big Ten championship? Essentially,
why not do it to where it's North-South, and then you take those and divide them into 2 other divisions.
Like subcategories?
Yeah, subdivisions.
So I don't know if you remember me talking about it. The SEC potentially
there is a way
something
to run
like
a little
that.
Tournament.
They basically, the way they came up was each team played 3 permanent opponents.
Yeah.
And then you rotated from there as far as the other one.
Because the subcategory was your permanent opponent, and then you went into taking a couple. Yeah, and you know what? You could have, or you could do it to whoever wins those subcategories. So if you have 4 subcategories, they go into the semifinals of the conference championship. Hey, you just made more money.
Right. Or here's the other crazy thing that I would want your thought on. What if it was one of those, your schedule kind of changes as it goes? So say, for example, you have your 3 opponents that you know for sure you're going to face. They're your permanent opponents, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say you go 3-0. Okay, now you move up. Now you face, the other teams who also went 3-0, and now you're up to 6. And how did you do in that? And then whoever has the best records left out of that, then you face those final 2 and final 3.
And that's very rudimentary. Like you would have to come up with a little bit more finer detail, maybe make it 8 total. But still,
look, sir, that was a 30-second thought bubble.
Okay? I know that's my point. That's my point. No, that was a good one, because that's it's almost like a progression.
Mm-hmm. It progressively gets harder.
Pool play, and your 2 and 1s play each other, and your 1 and 2s, and your own, they play each other. Whatever, I'm sure it's possible. I know it'll never happen, Tony. But come on, it's that all bloomed from the question of, do I think this allows Notre Dame to rest on its laurels and be independent? I still don't think it's gonna. I still think it's gonna be. There's gonna be pressure for them to do it, and it's not gonna be necessarily unduly, because I think Notre Dame's gonna realize, you know what, we need conference alignment to have some security. Yeah, they've got the capability to get into the tournament with 11-1 record, but if they're not any good and they're not able to play anybody, that's only going to last so many years before they're going to be like, nope, guys, get out of our tournament.
They say that, or they're going to make them, or again, if they reseed, they're going to have the same issue that they had even with the 4 team of, okay, well, here you go, you get to face whoever number 1 is, and if they kick your teeth in, well, congratulations, you got to be invited in. Have fun.
But all right, well, congratulations to Notre Dame. You'll be anxious to see who wins tonight's game at the Cotton Bowl between Texas and Ohio State. But that brings us to the end of this week and this episode. And this week, we're first successful week in the new format. Tony, why don't you let everybody know? Look at the. Can you
I see that.
I've got the TikTok.
Look at all of this.
So go ahead.
All right. So you can find us on Facebook at Big Talk. That's B1G Talk on Facebook. You can also find us at B1G_Talk. That's Big Talk on TikTok, Instagram, and X, aka formerly known as Twitter. You can also find us on the All Sports All Plays Network 3 times a week. Pretty sure. Now, obviously, this week is an exception because we have the wonderful thing that is college football, but we're going to be moving that to...
We had 3 days this week.
I know, but we're going to be more Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right?
We more consistent. Well, other than we had a hiccup in our setting up, I believe, so we had to wait until Tuesday to put our first, but it will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yes,
correct. So you'll be able to see us 3 times a week if you want to, and then you can also find us on Believe and the Lounge Sports Network, which is a branch under the Lounge Media Group, luckily owned by Sam, and I believe luckily, and I believe through Believe that the podcast version will be uploaded to there and wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes,
preference.
Yep. Go find us on social medias and let us know what your thoughts are. We love hearing about where we're wrong.
Right.
I've been married, so I'm used to it. So, but
I'm not married anymore.
Well, I am still. We're getting ready. 20 years.
Oh, look at that. Congrats.
Look at that. Coming up in July. So, all right. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for joining us this morning to talk about the Orange Bowl. Can't wait to see the Cotton Bowl tonight. But until we talk to you on Monday, for Tony Hollinsworth, I'm Sam Sprunger. See ya.